Hello everyone, I hope you're having a beautiful day. So I want to talk about how I used to have hearing. Up until the age of 25, I heard normal. I heard all the sounds, and then I was diagnosed at the age of 25 with otosclerosis, and I progressively lost my hearing. And one of the weird things for me that I always have to wrap my brain around is I know what sounds should sound like. And so when it comes to my hearing aid adjustments, I find it really difficult to adjust my hearing aids to where they should be based on my hearing loss and what I know things should sound like, which is kind of confusing because you're like, well, based on your test, your hearing aid should be set to a certain point. But sometimes when my audiologist adjusts my hearing aids based on my test score, I find that things don't sound right. And so it's a really difficult battle sometimes because of this memory my brain has of what things sound like and what things sound like with my hearing aid. Sometimes it's really hard for me to allow myself to accept that some things will sound different. I'm kind of stubborn like that. I'm like, I know that this should sound this way, but my hearing aids are making it sound that way. And after an adjustment, I've had to convince myself to give it a couple of weeks for my body to adjust to that new way of life, if you will. And it can be a hard pill to swallow, especially if you go from hearing to no hearing, because it's a weird sensation to like lose that, and it's just a weird transition that you kind of always have to go through, especially as my hearing like slowly gets worse. There are just some things that are an adjustment, to say the least, every time. And when it comes to remembering what sounds are like, there's always times where I'm like looking at something and I'm like, am I hearing it? Or is it just my brain telling me I know what that sound is and I'm not actually hearing it, but I think I am because I've heard it before. Like my example is like, I'm looking at the leaves blowing in the tree. I'm like, but do I hear it? Or am I just remembering that I know the rustly sound? Which is such a hard, like weird concept to like process. But it's one of those things that as you go through your hearing loss journey, you're just like, oh, that's something you never thought you had to think about. So are there any, question for you, like if you had hearing before you got hearing aids, are there some things where you think you just remember what the sound is, but you're not actually hearing it? Because yeah, it's a weird thing to think about. And there's so many situations, honestly daily for me, where I'm like, am I hearing this? Or do I just think I'm hearing it because I know what that sound should be? So yeah, what an interesting, strange time. But when it comes to hearing aid adjustments, I do find that I struggle because of that scenario I just was talking about. It's a struggle to accept those little things constantly changing and constantly like slipping away because of my hearing getting worse. And it's scary to think about sometimes, to be quite honest, that there could be a time where I do get to profound hearing loss or to a point where hearing aids just won't help me anymore. And yes, there is the surgery option with otosclerosis, but I mean, I've talked about that before. I'm just not comfortable with that. But